Hey Bat fans, Luke here, ready to Bat Chat about this week's main Bat book release, and that is Batman Detective Comics issue 977, which serves as part 2 of the Batman Eternal storyline. And what we have here is the main cover. This is the one done by, I believe, Alvaro Martinez. Let's take a peek. I'm pretty sure because this fits his style. And lo and behold, yes, Alvaro Martinez, Raul Fernandez, and Romulo Fajardo Jr. doing the credits on the cover. Normally I would show you the variant. Don't have the variant on me right now because my books got shipped late. Again, DCBS, love them, but when they screw up sometimes, man, it kind of puts a damper on things. So luckily, a buddy of mine had a couple extra copies of this, as well as 2 other titles I was really looking to read earlier in the week, that being Metal number 6 and Doomsday Clock number 4. So I did read those other 2. Not going to go full-fledged in depth, other than to say I thought Metal ended really nicely, and then kind of segued into how DC was going to be moving forward some of his title coming up in the summer. And Doomsday Clock, number 4, very, very interesting issue. Nothing that's going to really blow you away. Kind of gives us more of a backstory on Rorschach and the current Rorschach, and maybe some Mothman, Minutemen type of interaction between everything. So, and little hints of how things are kind of tying into the current DCU. So, I think it's actually a feature. But either way, those general thoughts, good reads. So I'll get my actual copies here probably sometime next week. Insert major eye roll emoji here. But anyway, so yeah, I'm sure the variant cover by Albuquerque's great. So, but anyway, main cover, good. Anyway, what do I think about this issue? This issue was good. I enjoyed it. You have probably the best part being probably the art, but even the art has a little bit of a flaw, but we'll kind of get to that in a minute. But while this was a good read, I enjoyed it, and I'll probably rank it higher than maybe Detective Comics has been as of late, when we get to the end of the score. But my biggest problem with this issue, and I'm sorry, until something kind of changes a little bit, it's probably going to be with this whole entire storyline, is that how there's always going to be a correlation between what's going on in current day and its implications for the future, which is treated as an absolute truth already. And we'll get there in a minute, but I really want to start off again with probably the highlight of this issue is the art. And while it's not a perfect performance with the artists involved, with Fernandez, Barrows, and Ferreira, not Juan Ferreira, the other Ferreira. I think Ferreira and Calizas do colors. Either way, I thought Barrows was clearly the showrunner in this issue. His art is just fantastic, and what you get with Barrows too from time to time is really get some really cool storyboarding layouts. I mean, nothing creative or innovative, maybe kind of like, I don't want to say creative, that might not be the best word, neither innovative, but if you look like J.H. Williams III, his panel layouts are just really, what's the word? I don't want to say it, because it's not innovative. I mean, it's been done. Well, J.H. Williams III kind of took that. I think I kind of took it to the next level. But either way, we'll just say this is just really top tier panel layout storytelling done by Barrows in here. Everything as simple as, a picture of the colony coming in toward Wayne Manor, and you got Batman in the Batcave being kind of laid out and within the context of the bat symbol. Just awesome. Then you see kind of how you might have a 1 and maybe an 1/8 quarter panel splash page maybe, but then it's all broken into, again, mini bat symbol, and then all these cool layouts. So Barrow's portion of the story is really awesome to look at, and I can kind of tell why sometimes, especially with the do a bi-weekly release where it's kind of hard to get him on a consistent basis. But his part was really good. And at the point where it does kind of transition to where Barrow's portion of the story is kind of coming from this future perspective, the current day kind of bounces around between two other artists, obviously being Fernandez and... why am I having a complete brain fart again? Who the third artist? Because it's definitely three, and you can tell. I just can't tell who specifically. Oh yeah, Ferreira and Eber Ferreira. I thought Ferreira just did the inks or colors. All right, Ferreira and Fernandez portion of the storytelling. I'm pretty sure this is Fernandez, but again, while the other two, for the most part, kind of remain consistent, there is one thing it kind of makes me cringe. First off, some of the facial expressions, this one done by the General, I was just like, wow, that is just seems a little bit out of place as far as context and feel. And another one, which for the most part, I get it. Like I say, in this one, even with Luke's sister, she looks like Amanda Waller, by the way, in this picture. And some of the Suicide Squad stories we've seen. There's this... I can't put my finger on it, but some of the facial expressions just seem kind of off. While I dig the body designs, especially like this is just awesome. Awesomely done. I just can't tell who did who or who did what. But there's one thing that really, with the art, just kind of made me... I'm not going to say cringe, but just one thing, it's just not a preference for me. And I know you kind of get it in the Batman Earth 1 series, where you get like Batman, and it's kind of hard to see if I don't know if the camera's going to pick it up. Batman, when he has his mask on, you might not be able to tell it there too, but trust me, it is definitely there. If you look right there. I'm just not necessarily a big, huge fan of Batman when he's got the cowl on. We can see the pupils. In addition to that, it's not very consistent. You'll see some panels where Batman got the cowl on, obviously, and you see clear white eyes. But then in some, you see one with the pupils. So I wish it would be a little bit more consistency. Whoa, cliffhanger, don't want to show that. But that's just one thing that kind of stuck out, is just some of the facial expressions and that thing with the eyes. And that might sound like a nitpick, especially with the eyes thing. But number one, it's just me, my preference. Batman, when he has that cowl on, I just kind of prefer the white eye. And while I get the Earth 1 perspective, how you see him with the cowl, and he's got the pupils, I think I kind of look at that as obviously outside the cinematic world. I think I kind of contain that in its own thing. So maybe for the Earth 1 take on the character, I think that's maybe the norm. But outside of that, especially in comic book form, I'm just not necessarily a big fan of Batman. When he has the cowl on, you clearly see the pupils. But that said, maybe I was a little harsh in the beginning. I thought the art was really well done. Say a couple nitpicks and maybe personal preferences, but definitely Barrows was clearly the showrunner in this issue. And that said, let's kind of get into the story. And the story kind of divides itself kind of maybe in two parts. Whereas the first, we'll say third, is again in this context of the General showing Tim the future via this piece of hardware that the future Tim had on him. And then when future Tim was down interacting with the current day, the General was able to grab it. So he had a picture, a type of the technology, and was able to obviously gain the ability to kind of forecast the future. And in doing so, he's trying to bring Tim onto his side, but really harping in the fact that, hey, you can kind of prevent the future. In the story, what basically happens in the first, again, about the first third, is that you see a glimpse that basically the president has ordered the capture of Batman through the use of his satellites in the Brother Eye. And in doing so, the colony comes in And basically what happens is that Kate is led, obviously, to come in to lead this mission, and in doing so, to take Bruce down despite a valiant effort. When it comes down to it, which again, this panel layouts are really well done, really accentuate the story. She ends up shooting Bruce. I mean, that's kind of a spoiler, but again, reality, this is a future thing, which again, I'll get to that in a minute. Which I was really engrossed in this story, and I thought this again was a future thing, and I kind of go back and forth on this future thing, but again, when you're integrating a future telling part of a story through the lens of the current day, you're going to have some issues. Not really articulated well. There's going to be some things that might just pop in your mind, and I'll just go ahead and get into it now. When you're referencing things in the future, when you say this is how the future is going to look, and you're trying to tell it through the lens of the current day, the future is done. So any action you're trying to do to prevent the future in current day is really just, I don't want to say futile, because current events lead to the future. So if you know the end state, anything you do in the current day, whether you think it's to divert something or to kind of alter a path that will lead to a different future, is ultimately the same path which creating the future in the first place. The future is the future. And if you're trying to correlate it again to past events building on each other, those past events are creating the future. So I hate to say it, it's futile. And the only way that's going to change is if there's something that's going to come really cheesy, where it's going to be, I don't want to say like a plot contrivance or something. There's going to be something. I kind of hearken it to, like, in Grayson, when at the end of the run, where they try to get things reset to everyone forget that Grayson was, like a super spy, and get him back into like the Nightwing concept. They had like the satellites that kind of wiped everyone's minds, with the exception of a couple people. It's going to be something like that I honestly believe that's obviously going to revert this future end state that's going to be. And obviously when you read this story, you can obviously see that the general is obviously got some ulterior motives, and maybe he's not picturing the future accurately to Tim, but the bottom line is you still had a future Tim coming down from the future to try to alter events in the past to alter his end state in the future. So this thing that the general is showing Tim really can't be that far off, per se. So that's my problem, is that whether you try to change in the present day, the future, it's basically based on the events that you're trying to alter in the first place. And that might be sounding kind of really weird. I'm maybe not articulating it correctly, but that's my problem. This is like this big, huge gray cloud that's hovering me over. I'm reading this story arc. Is I'm kind of almost bracing myself for the cheesy way to kind of get everything changed. If it's not that, or it's going to be the future, which, to be honest, I'm not digging this future concept of, this rogue Batman that's floating around. So we kind of sort of also already seen this in Batman Beyond, post the DCU, when Tim Drake was Batman Beyond, and I don't know. Again, it's just like this huge gray cloud that's kind of hovering over me right now, which I just can't necessarily shake off. And again, I thought this was a fun issue for the most part. And I'll just be upfront. I'll give it a 3 out of 5. It's an improvement, but again, it's just this gray cloud that's kind of just hovering over right now. I'm just kind of bracing myself for maybe something that, I don't know. And by the way, I officially broke. Like everyone else is kind of like, yeah, I get it. Yeah, same here. I get a lot of DC titles, a lot. And I see this like every issue. I'm like, okay, I got it. Bendis is coming. Great. I don't know. It's going to sound like I'm being negative, Nelly. I hope I'm not. Because again, this had some really good positive going in this issue. It's just, when you kind of sit back and kind of look at the bigger picture here, I don't know. I just got to, again, that gray cloud that just kind of hovering over me right now when it comes to the context of the story and this whole future thing, which I'm just not incredibly a huge fan of. Another thing that kind of made me irk a little bit, we have interaction with Luke Fox and his sister, and him basically telling his sister, hey, I'm going away for a year to kind of deal with stuff in Gotham. She's not necessarily initially a fan of it, but all of a sudden when Kate Kane comes in, she's totally on board with it. Missing a ton of context here as far as how all of a sudden Kate Kane comes in and she just totally goes, oh, okay, got it, yeah, run to Gotham. And the kind of conversation she has with Luke's sister is kind of weird, but neither here nor there. You do see ultimately the General's ply as far as how you're probably going to see the twist between his real motives with Tim R. It comes in context again with the picture he's obviously trying to portray, and also the use of the Brother Eye technology. Again, that's interesting, but again, it's just, again, that gray cloud I just can't shake off. I don't know why. We'll just leave it at this. I'll show it to you, but I'm not going to put it in context. That way, if you can read it, you can kind of see what maybe the General's trying to do. And it kind of goes with, the role of the colony, whatever. So, all in all, again, 3 out of 5. Good qualities to it. And if you're definitely gonna, if you're kind of like me on this whole future thing and that type of storytelling, if you remove yourself from that, I would obviously think you will actually have a better time enjoying this. The first third, again, the part with Barrows and the whole take in the future, that was really good. But again, if you kind of gotta have to remove yourself from any other criticism or kind of skewed viewpoint, I don't even want to see that either. Just that from that point of perspective of, again, incorporating a future lens storytelling, where you're taking the future and incorporating with the present day. If you remove that, if you're able to do that, I think you'll find it even more enjoyable. There might be parts, again, the thing with Luke's sister and Kate might kind of make you cringe a little bit. Not really cringe, but just might just kind of go, that really just seemed a little too easy or out of place. And take that aside. It's just really good, but just maybe I'm just why it's, if you take that away, this probably be like a 3.5 out of 5. But for me, I'm going to drop it down, give it about 3. And I think the reason why I'm unfortunately kind of dropping it down a point, I guess, is that, again, looking at the bigger picture through the lens of this type of storytelling, I just see, maybe not see, I just have a feeling that the ending, I don't know, it's going to just not really work out, or we're going to get some weird thing to kind of tie everything up. So, either way, 3 out of 5, Batman Detective Comics, issue 977. Step up, but we'll see. We'll see. Part 2, we got plenty of time to see how this kind of hashed out. So, anyway, may or may not try to do one more video this weekend. I read a Bat trade this morning before I went to, obviously I'm right outside the gym right now. So if I have time, might kind of chat about it. It's a recent one, akin to the animated series. So may or may not talk about that this weekend. If not, next week we'll chat about Batman with Tom King. So anyway, hit me up in the comments below what you thought about this issue, and go from there. So until next video, take care.